All right, everybody, we are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru. And I have the brother Dawud on with us today, and we're going to be discussing what is the end game for Black America. I know people keep asking for solutions and what do we do about this? What do we do about that? But what is the end game? Like, what does Black America want? What do they want to see as a collective? I know we're splintered, but brother Dawood, let's just jump right into it. What is the end game?
Well, brother, first of all, thank you very much for having me on the show. It's been I really am grateful to God that you had Hollop on the show, you had Kala on the show, and those are my brothers and you're my brothers. So us all having the same kind of black nationalist ideology, it's an honor and a pleasure for me to now be on the show myself. What is the end game is a question that we kind of came up with a little while ago because all of us, as in me, Kala, Hollop, Jonathan, the rest of the BIO, we all come from different black movements that we had been a part of for so many years. And what we found out is that a lot of the black movements are in a perpetual struggle that is never going to end. So you're supposed to be fighting the white man. You're supposed to be fighting this one. You're supposed to be fighting that one. And there's never any end to it. There's never any conclusion. And all will, what you call it, all will knowingly admit to you this thing is forever. And so for us, I asked first, I said, what is the end game? It's the most important thing. It's what I start every radio show I do with, because I think that for millennials, as in young brothers and sisters who are in their 20s and teens or whatever, it's important for y'all not to get caught up in black power plantation bullshit.
Right.
So what that basically means to me is that you get in an organization that's ran like a plantation. They're harvesting you, your time, your money, and your resources, and there's no end game in sight. To me, the ultimate end game is a nation for black people off the shores of America that we can call our home, that does business with satellite communities in America.
Hmm. You mentioned something as far as getting into a plantation fight. I think that's what is pretty much going on right now as we see it as far as Black America. Who would position themselves best on the plantation?
Right, right, no doubt. I did a show a while ago called Plantation Politics.
Mhm.
This is when I was going through my anti-movement stage, which we all go through various different stages in life, and we look back, and there's some things that we're proud of, and there's some things that's not so proud of. But one thing I will say is this: plantation mentality is when there's an overseer, there's what you call it, there's an overseer, well, excuse me, there's a plantation over, then there's overseers, and then there's actually people who do the work. So in other words, there's a guy who benefits from all the proceeds of the plantation. Then you have mid-level people who are overseers. These dudes or women sometimes they cracking the whip on you. They're gonna snitch on you if you do wrong. They're gonna make sure that you follow plantation orders. They make sure that the plantation procedures and equipment is there. They're gonna make sure that you're not stealing, all that other stuff. And then you got the unfortunate sap at the bottom who is actually the slave out there picking proverbial cotton. They're the ones that's collecting money. They're the ones that's going out there handing out flyers. They're
Mhm.
the ones that's trying to bring new people into the plantation. And it's not to say that every black movement out there is a plantation, but what it is to say is your organization fits the criteria of plantation if there is no real end game. And if I ask you what the end game is, and you
Right.
cannot answer that in one paragraph, basically you on a plantation to me.
Let me ask you, can we give some I guess real life examples, names if you don't mind, of plantation infighting or plantation fighting, plantation politics. So people
Well,
can have a clearer example.
okay, so here's what I'll do. What I'll do is I'll speak of the construct itself and not necessarily that particular leader, but then if you're familiar with me, I usually get salty as after a while, and I'd start naming names. But within every organization, you now have splinters. First generation, of course, was like Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, You know, Black Panthers with Fred Hampton, kind of mid first, second generation
Brother,
stuff
can
like
I
that.
ask a question? And I hate to interrupt. I just you brought
Sure,
up Marcus Garvey,
sure,
and hopefully you don't lose your train of thought.
sure.
How did why what did W.E.B. Du Bois do specifically to Marcus Garvey to sabotage what he was doing? Do you know?
Offhand, I don't. I
Okay.
really don't.
Well,
Here's what I'll say from a larger perspective. I think
mhm.
all of these movements were to be there for a time. They was not there. They did not come to be there forever. At that particular time, we needed someone to come to tell us that basically the solution to all your problems is to gather all your resources and then build on the motherland continent, which is Africa. We needed somebody to do that.
Right.
And when that particular movement served its purpose, then it disintegrated. At the Morris Science Temple level, we needed somebody to tell us what Noble Drew Ali bought us and to tell us that if you're going to stay in America, this is what you need to do. During the during the time where the Nation of Islam was popular, we needed somebody to tell us all that the Nation of Islam told us and all that they showed us. And then at some point it disintegrated. Now, me, Brother Minister Dawood, I have my own temple. I have as a matter of fact, I have more than one,
Mhm.
and that I'm over. But what I say in that those movements served their time, I'm not saying that they're not applicable today, but what I am saying is the original movement itself disintegrated for a reason. And the reason why they disintegrated is because it was for that time, it's not for this time. And so when people talk about either Booker T. Washington or W.E.B. Du Bois, now if I'm right, W.B. Du Bois was the talented 10th gentleman.
Right. Right.
And
Mhm.
if you think about it, that is really contrary to the foundation of Marcus Garvey's movement. And the reason why I say that is this is that me being I've been in the Black Power movement since I was 19 years old. We're going on 20 some odd years.
Mhm.
I came up in the very boots on the ground, blood, sweat, and tears kind of movement. W.E.B. Du Bois' system and thinking is not that way. His way is go to the white man, get his education, get his skills, pull your resources together, and use it to build something. Marcus Garvey's model was to take your brother and sister who may not have had any skills and from the bottom rung, and this could encompass the brother and sister from jail. It can encompass the brother and sister from the lower class that's working, the brother and sister that's just starting out as an entrepreneur. Pull them all together and their hardcore boots on the ground work ethic and build it penny by penny. W.B. Du Bois wasn't jacking that. So you can see why the two philosophies would have crashed. And in my judgment, I think W.B. Du Bois really wanted to stay in America, and Marcus Garvey's ultimate aim and goal was to build on the continent.
You know what's crazy? It was the opposite. It was the opposite. It was so Marcus Garvey ended up never going to the continent, and
Right,
W. E. Du Bois ended up settling in Ghana, which is
right.
crazy. Irony. It was
Yep,
the opposite.
yep, yes, sir. So when we talk about what is the end game and where do these movements play a part, to me, what I'm saying is that it's 2018. You will still see some Muslims in certain cities out on the corner selling papers. You will see some in certain cities, Hebrew Israelites out on the corner with the Bible, with their dress on, screaming at people. You will see some people, you know what I'm saying? In all the movies, you see some people representing what came in the 90s and the 80s and the 70s. And that means that there's really no end game. They intend to do that until they die, and then new recruits will come in and do that until they die.
Mhm.
And like Hollop always says, is nothing more than a Batman and Joker kind of situation
Right.
where me and you, we're in a love triangle, and as long as the white man is oppressing us, we got work. And
Right.
as long as we are fighting against the white man, they got work. And it's a never-ending love triangle. What we're saying in the BAIO is, who gives a shit about this triangle? Let us end this whole thing by giving black people three things: land, infrastructure, and nationhood. If you had land, you wouldn't be on the corner screaming at people.
Right.
If your land had infrastructure, you wouldn't have to hand out papers.
And
And if you had
under a tent on a sidewalk.
exactly. And if you had nationhood, you wouldn't have to worry about paperwork. And it solves all of those problems. But when you come to people with those three precepts, they reject them if they're trying to stay in that perpetual fight and they don't want an end game.
Brother, we got a couple questions in the chat room. Now,
Sure.
were you or are you a member of the Nation of Islam?
Yes, sir. Right now. Yep.
Okay,
Well,
so
excuse me. Hold on. Not the Nation of Islam that they are used to. So if you get any questions about Ms. Louis Farrakhan, Scientology, let me head y'all off at the pass. I'm not with them. I'm not connected to them, and I don't support that.
okay, so you're in the is it the UNOI, the Universal Nation of Islam? What's the other one?
With the other one, there's like hundreds.
Okay, got you. Okay.
There's
All right.
hundreds. I am an independent minister that runs
Mhm.
independent temples.
Okay.
I follow. So what?
No, I said okay.
Yeah, I follow the teaching on Elijah Muhammad. I used to be a member of an organization called the Nation of Islam of Canada. And so, other words, I was with Ms. Louis Farrakhan for a certain amount of years,
Mhm.
and then there were certain changes that went down that I really don't want to get into on this show. And because of the certain changes that happened,
You might have to because people in the chat room are asking. And
so
basically, the
now,
question, basically the question is, Brother Amin Ra says, hold on, let me scroll back up to it. And I mean, there's a couple people who brought it up.
right?
Come on, Amin Ra, where's your question at? Where's your question at? Where's your question at? Oh, here we go. No, Amin Ra, type your question. Here we go. Amin Ra, do me a favor, type in your question again. This thing is scrolling so fast. Hold on one second. Amin Ra, where's your question? Here we go. The Nation of Islam hasn't helped blacks at it as it hasn't taken the lead in the black community. What are your thoughts on that? Because I'm starting to hear that a lot. If you can
That
speak,
it hasn't helped blacks.
it hasn't taken the lead in the black community. The Nation is of Islam, and it hasn't helped blacks.
Well, first of all, that's erroneous. Um, that really is.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot say any of these organizations did not quote unquote help black people. Now we're getting into inch by inch when we're looking at the whole football game. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? The
Mm-hmm.
reality of it is that can you deny that the Nation of Islam took people off of drugs? Can you
Absolutely.
deny that the Nation of
I can't
Islam,
deny it. No.
you know what I'm saying, stop women from being from hoeing, you know what I'm saying, from prostitution, all that other stuff? You can't deny that.
Correct.
So is that really the issue that we're talking about today? No. The issue that we're talking about today is what is the end game?
Right.
So in other words, brother, you can start the Dynass organization right now where you at, right?
Correct.
And y'all can hand out food once a week, and that would be cool. I would celebrate you for that. But the question is, what's the end game?
Correct.
You
There
know
we
what I'm
go.
saying? That's what I'm saying. You could do that, and nobody would take credit away from you. I would think you was a hero because I do food handouts in my city. You know what I'm saying? The city that I'm in and stuff like that. Also, to people who got jobs and who people who don't jobs. I've helped people move. I've done all that kind of stuff. To come on a radio show and to say that these organizations, specifically Nation of Islam, is not helping anybody, like that, to me, that's erroneous.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, what is the big picture? What is
Right.
the big picture? When you are going to be here helping people so you can stay helping people, that's the problem. The problem is not that none of these organizations never did nothing for people. The problem is, where are we going to be 20, 30 years from now? Are you still going to be out in the corner giving bread to black people?
Right.
Are you still going to be trying to set up centers to help women who are single mothers? Or are you going to try to solve the whole problem by creating an infrastructure and a nation that's ran by us that solves these problems? That is what I'm here to talk about.
All right. Perfect. So there it is.
What else? What else are they asking?
No, that was really it. A lot of people wanted to speak on the Nation of Islam since you were affiliated with it at one time or currently are. So
Well, let
uh,
me, let me tell that story real quick.
go
See,
ahead. Yeah,
again,
please.
I myself, again, accepted my own, is what we say, in 1991, wrote my letter when I was 19 years old,
Hmm.
and came into Minister Louis Farrakhan's nation under a man named Minister Linwood X, and served under him in that nation for 8 years until an order was given. And the order was given over a hookup, which I actually took because I was a captain at that time. That Friday prayer, we were supposed to let all Muslims into the temple on Friday prayer, mosque, excuse me.
Right.
And that was an order that freaked my minister out because he was a what you call it. He was a follower of Honorable Elijah Muhammad during Honorable Elijah Muhammad's time, and he saw that before. When you say all Muslims, do you know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about whites, blacks,
Okay.
Indians, whatever.
Okay.
And traditionally, Nation of Islam is a black only organization. And
Right.
once that order was given, that is what triggered everything. So we ended up breaking off. At
Mhm.
that particular time, my minister was in charge of two cities in Canada, one in Montreal, one in Ottawa. And what ended up happening is when we broke off, we became what's called the Nation of Islam of Canada. This was the beginning of me understanding that you had to make your host nation or host organization outside of America control. So the headquarters was in Canada, but me, I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, New York or whatever. So I had my temple here that I was under that. And eventually my teacher passed in 2000. When he passed, basically the organization disintegrated to the point that it is where it is now. And so I, haven't just carried on the plan and continued to do what I was doing, ministering to my people, setting up organizations, doing what I was doing. And at some point, I got on Blog Talk Radio and started, trying to teach a message, but I tried to make it broad because I think that if you get on the radio show, let's just say that you're a guy that believes in comedic spirituality, whatever.
Right.
To me, if you do a comedic show for comedic people, that's stupid. To me, if you do a Israelite show for Israelite people, that's stupid because black people come from all walks of life and all diaspora. And if your voice is that limited that you're only talking to a segment of people, you need to hang that shit up.
Right.
So my message and my training was good enough or broad enough, I should say, that it reached so many different people. And as I was developing the message was changing me. And as the message changed me, I began to realize the ultimate aim and end goal of this is not to just create a big nation of Islam. The ultimate aim and goal is to have your own nation. And at first, I figured that that nation should be here in America. But then after I met Kala and Holub and we all dialogued and they didn't put me down or scream on me or anything like that, but they shared their ideas and I shared my ideas. I began to realize, no, the host country or nation has to be off the shores of America. It has to be because we have gone through too much here in America, and everything that we do has either been infiltrated, burned down, murdered, assassinated, or a combination of all of the above. And quite frankly, you would say, well, that's going to happen overseas. I think you have a better chance of surviving if you do.
Mm. All right. Shout out to Eritrean dude for the super chat. He says, my grandfather, who's 101 years old, said the exact same thing. For us to get our education, learn the system, and bring it back and apply it. But I think the issue is, Brother Dawood, is they're not going back.
Right.
They're staying here in America.
Right.
Or in the UK or in Europe or Canada. They're not going back. That's the issue.
Yes, and it's funny. My good brother Early in the BAIO said this years ago. He said, Brother Dawud, he said, what do you think was the goal of the civil rights movement? I said, brother, I really don't know. He said the goal of the civil rights movement was for black people to disappear in white society. And that really hit it home for me. I had to sit down and think about that. And
Mm.
so for me, I think that we be fronting like we're going to get an education and quote unquote help the black community. But then once we get it and we see that we can make lucrative money here, either on our own or working for somebody else, that's when the passion is lost. And what my standpoint has always been is this: can you blame those people for doing that when we have not tried to set up something someplace else that we control?
Right.
And I don't really think you can. You cannot bitch to black people for selling out and what's called disappearing into white society when we have had 40 to 50 years of this black movement thing. Really, we've had like 70, 80 years of this black movement thing. And nobody has built a nation off the shores of America. Nobody has done it.
Right.
We have tried our best to do it here, and it keeps getting burnt down, infiltrated, leaders assassinated, families. I mean, you name it. You name it. You know what I'm saying? So the question is, if you were to create something someplace else and build that there and convince a certain amount of people to move there and invest their skills there or become consultants and take vacations there or whatever it is that need to be done, because we got the internet today. You're in Atlanta and I'm in upstate New York right now.
Mhm.
So we're vibing now. You could do something like that. Even if you're an engineer in America, you could have video conferencing and direct a whole project, I believe, from America. But
Correct.
people have such a narrow-minded view that it's well, don't you think that we should create it here as a model over there? How are you going to get it up? How are you going to get it up the minute you try to get it up? And as I've said before, I'm not just some dude that, you know what I'm saying? Like I joined the black movement and I got a GED.
Right.
And you know, shout out to those who got a GED. I'm not putting you down, but I'm a guy that has gone further in education, got certifications in a practical skill. I'm on job sites all the time with people from all walks of life, but let's just keep it 100. On a job site, it's mostly white people.
Mm-hmm.
And be that as it may, when you look at it like that, if you don't see a great deal of black people on these job sites, then what you know is that we're being cut out of almost all of these building industries.
Hey,
Almost all of it.
listen. It's crazy because even here in Atlanta, on construction sites, predominantly Hispanic.
Right. Right. Yep.
And the thing is, Atlanta is a predominantly black city. Still is.
Right. Because they will hire everybody but you. And they will not even, it's not even a matter of hiring. They will give out contracts to everybody but you. And supposedly, think about it this way. And I know there's intelligent people in the chat that can agree with me on this one. There are laws on the books that say that they got to give a certain amount of contracts to you as a black person.
Right.
But then when you go on a job site, what do you see? You don't see black people. You know what I'm saying? So what's the what is the solution to this? Does this mean that black people are not in construction? Does this mean that black people don't have construction companies? They don't have carpenting firms, engineering firms, electrical firms, things like that? Or does it mean that when they go to bid, there's an unfair practice? And I remember hearing this on actually a Republican show years ago, where the person said that they believed that the Vietnam War was started so that certain companies could get no bid contracts. Well, it must follow that those countries were not black companies that got those new big contracts. And the reality of it is that if you're a black businessman today and you're trying to get your share of the market, you got to keep your head down and you got to turn gray in order to do so. So you really can't be pro-black and make really good money in America. You can't be pro-black in public, because when you do, then you basically, what you're doing is you're threatening the power structure, and you see what happens.
Right.
So you basically have to play the game like they used to say in the Bible, be wise as a dove, but but be humble as a wise as a fox, but humble as a dove, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you do that, you're still not being you. At the end of the day, you got to play the Superman game. You got to be house nigga. I'm on the job during the daytime. I conform with society. Then at nighttime, you got to go and rip your shirt open, and now you're super black man. That's bullshit.
Right.
After 70 years, brother Dines, that's bullshit.
Brother Dawud, so the concept of building a nation here in America, I know Louis Farrakhan has spoke about it. You have the Republic of New Africa. How feasible is that? Is that something that can honestly that can be done, or is this some type of pipe dream?
Here's what I think.
Go ahead.
It's a yes and a no. You can build satellite communities in America. What a satellite community is, it's a community that you have decided that you've gotten. First of all, brother, listen, I talking to you, I think that you're a relatively intelligent person, and I know that you probably are relatively successful in your own personal life financially. You've been around black people.
Yes.
You've been around black people in organizations.
All my life.
When it comes down to somebody having a $3,000 or $4,000 bill, black people don't have no money to support that person.
Of course not.
So how the hell are we talking about building a nation in America when if somebody's 3 months behind on their rent, we can't help them out? You know what I'm saying? If somebody is 3 months behind on their car payments, it sucks to be you. So for me, when I talk about and we said, me and Holmes said this, I guess we talked about this before. I had to put electronic security on a mega church the other week. You're talking about a $3-4 million church, bro.
Right.
And I said to myself, we don't have that. I don't okay, so let's just say, for instance, I'm gonna get to the question, but I got to build a context.
Go ahead, please. Take your time.
You remember the Sonetta movement where they was having all those debates on 125th?
Yeah.
That was in a rented building.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It was crazy, not to cut you off. So they're having, I mean, this is just the irony of it, man. And so they're having debates in rented buildings, but then the debates are about how you get your status correction to get buildings. I mean, why? I don't see how people with enough. You have to be a special person. I'm trying not to be rude. I've been saying before myself.
Right.
You got these people who are making you pay for debates, in a rented building, a building that they don't own. But then they're saying if you correct your status, you can get these buildings.
Right, right, right.
Go ahead. I just,
No, and I thank you for adding that. Now, let me tell you the history of the National Black Theater.
go ahead.
The National Black Theater used to be Mosque Number 7.
Mm.
When I was back running with Farrakhan in that nation, National Black Theater is where we had service as Mosque Number 7 under Minister Conrad Muhammad. Eventually, the organization and the members got so big that they was able to leave Mosque Number 7 and buy a property off the beaten path in Harlem. But that's where it started. Then Sonetta and them, they came in there and they started having their debates. No matter what we think about their debates or whatever in the ideology, but to me, all of those debates, there never was any kind of structure that came out of that. And so if you think about it, we're talking about building a nation in America. And we're talking about how we're going to do that. Now, if I'm going to be a little bit critical, which this will probably get me in a little bit of trouble, but I really don't care. You know what I'm saying?
No filter on here. Go ahead.
You say, well, Minister Louis Farrakhan said he wants to build a nation in America. You mean like, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it?
What you
You
say,
had
people are saying that the NOI has resources and they just feel like the resources aren't being used to build what's supposed to be built.
Well, you know what, brother? I wouldn't argue with that.
Okay.
I really, really would not argue with that. There's been hundreds and hundreds of shows that many have done, even I have done, on that branch of the nation and their money mismanagement. And quite frankly, to me, it's a beaten horse. So it's a dead horse at this point. You know what it's like to me? It's like when dudes come on radio shows and they say things like, they ask questions like, what do you think? How do you think religion has held back black people? How long have we been talking about that?
Okay, right. Because that was
You know
one
what
of
I'm
the
saying?
that was one of the questions in the chat room, but I guess we won't cover that.
Of course, yeah, exactly. Like with religion. So we're actually gonna go there. We're gonna beat that dead horse and talk about how religion has held back the black community when people who don't have religion have not done a damn thing too.
Right.
When people who claim that they're atheists have not done a damn thing too. And my basic thing is this. The reason why you have not built anything in America is because you're fighting against somebody in his own land and he has rigged the game so you would fail every time you try to do it.
Right.
And it is our position that that's why you got to take your ball someplace else that is sympathetic and friendly to your cause, that would ally with you while you're slowly but surely trying to build up your base. And once you have that, it's like anything. Some of us spent a little bit of time on the street, some of us didn't. And what we knew is if you wanted to compete with the drug dealer down the block, number one, you needed a sweeter product than he had. But number two, you needed a better price. If you had land in Africa, and if you had land, let's just say you don't like Africa, you know what I'm saying? Which if you on this show or you in the chat room in this show, I don't know how you could say that, but it is what it is. Stranger things have happened, right? Either way, if you say you want to build in Australia, if you say you want to build in Haiti, wherever the hell you say you want to build, if you was able to produce a good gross national product there, and you was able to use those resources to support you here in America, then you would be on equal footing. But until you have some kind of outside help, you will never, ever, ever be on equal footing here. And I go back to this many times. There was a report that was produced a couple of years ago in the Business Insider, and it said for you to get out of poverty, you basically need 20 years of nothing going wrong. 20 years. So status correction guy is gonna come across you, and he's gonna tell you, nah, that's crazy. All you need to do is file a couple of paperworks, and you're gonna be straight.
Yeah, but give me $999 to do it. 99 cents.
Right? Right? And then your black ass is gonna be on the terrorist watch list. You know what I mean? And they're gonna run down on you like my beautiful man. That chick was beautiful. My beautiful sister, may Allah be pleased with her, Corin Gaines.
Yeah.
They're gonna run down on you with a whole lot of police with your son in the house.
Right.
And then you're gonna see how much correction your status is really gonna make.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So we keep getting examples here in America of what happens when you try to build here. And I'm telling you, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking to me about I don't know, I think it was Jason Black. And they were saying to me that they stopped listening to this dude because of this, that, and the next thing. And I said, I said, as long as you've been doing this, I don't know why that ever even tickled your ears in the first place. But I said the reality of it is it's really not his fault. Nobody is really doing nothing here in America when it comes to the end game. Nobody.
Right.
Nobody. So you can't just single him out or this one out or that one out. Nobody in America is doing anything that contributes to the end game. Perioso. And that you could be in the chat room all y'all want to and talk about religion, Nation of Islam. You could talk about the black church. You could talk about whatever you want to. But the reality of it is nobody is doing anything that contributes to the end game. The only people who really have it going on is those people who are black nationalists, which proper means you are black and you want a nation of your own. It doesn't mean this and that and all this other stuff. But if you want a nation of your own and you want it to be someplace else, to me, that's who I give credit to, because everybody else is just basically pissing in the wind, and you're going to see them here 40 years later collecting donations.
And shout out to everybody in the chat room. Please hit that like button. Again, if you're not super chatting or if you're not super chatting, the least you can do is hit the like button and share the video.
Real talk.
Brother Dawud, let me ask you this. What about the, we talk about Africa so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're still here in America. We're being hypocritical. What about that crowd? How do you address that?
Well, the reality of it is this, brother.
Like, why aren't we streaming from Africa right now if we're talking so much about Africa? If we hate America so much, why aren't we in Africa right now as we speak? We're being hypocritical. How do you address that crowd?
Okay, I'm addressing it in a couple of stages. The first stage is this: how long have you Negroes allowed the black leaders here in America to talk their rhetoric to you? How long have you gone for it? You've gone for it for now almost 200 years, right? And that was cool to you. And you did it and you took it. And your argument is basically we should stop talking about Africa. We should focus on here for another 200 years. Does that make sense to y'all? Really, that makes sense to y'all. It makes sense for y'all to go through the same car wash for another 200 years. To me, the Africa discussion is a revolutionary discussion, although it's not new. None of us in the BAIO claim to have started that. None of us do. But at the same time, what we say is this: how many people do you think is needed to go over there? What type of people do you think is needed to go over there? How much money do you think is needed to go over there? How much diplomatic relation is needed to go over there? See, if you want us to go to Africa and just stream from over there, we could do that. My brother, you've been there a couple of times, have you not?
Oh, I'll be there first week of August.
Exactly. So when you go over there and you stream from over there, what's going to be the next goalpost y'all going to give to us? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If that's all you want, that shows that you are mentally retarded. If all you want is for somebody to go over there and basically send you video back or footage or pictures, you got people that did that. What we're talking about is we are talking about the creation of an independent nation off the shores of America. That is a big task. And that task is not going to be one that is that is basically accomplished in 5, 10, maybe even 15, 20 years, to be honest with you. And so therefore, you need people, you need resources, you need a groundswell, and you also need diplomatic relations, because nobody is stupid. Nobody thinks that black people is just going to land over there in a helicopter and just start shutting up shop. This ain't no movie, okay?
Right.
So therefore, there's a lot of moving parts. And who says that we're not doing that right now?
Right.
It's just that we're not going to come on social media and give you live updates. Hey, we talked to the person over here this week. We paid down payment on this week. We don't do that. We're not the kind of people who are looking for attention by telling you I'm going to have something, and then 4 or 5 years down the line, we don't have it. You know what I'm saying? Because the reality of it is that I'm not taking a shot at any person per se, but I have to say it. Nobody is going to say, hey, listen, just like we got a school over in Africa, and then 5 years from now you don't see it. You know what I'm saying? We got a monastery in Africa. 5 years from now you don't see it. We are talking about a nation, and a nation is not something that you build in 5, 10, 15 years. It takes some people 20 years to build a city these days. So that's my answer to that.
Okay. See what else we got here in the chat room. Again, everybody, thank you for joining us. Please hit that like button. We have 164 people watching, only 87 likes. So please hit that like button.
I thank all of y'all for the 87 likes. I really do. And
Yeah.
I hope and pray that I am representing the Black nationalists and BAIO cause correctly, because it is something that's bigger than me. And I'm just one of many who articulated, including the good brother that is having me on the show today.
Oh, no problem, man. No problem. Thank you. What about the Africa doesn't have the infrastructure to, I guess, um, support a black nation state, black American nation state or whatnot.
I mean, what exactly does that mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're talking about a continent that's 3 times the size of America.
Right.
What exactly does that mean? First of all, everything in America since Barack Obama was president, because we all know Barack Obama did a lot of shady, corrupt, crooked stuff, and
Oh,
he, you know, he was a
shady
front.
as hell. Shady as hell.
But there's some things that he did was good. And one of the things he did that was good, whether it was him or his staff, is he signed into a lot of green legislation. So people began to use solar panels,
Mhm.
people began to use wind, people began to use water, people began to use a lot of different alternatives to build infrastructure. So you go over to Africa, my God, where else are you going to get sun but in Africa? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You got nothing but pure ultraviolet B radiation over there. You got water over there. You got wind over there. Everything you need to build a technologically green city, you got over there. And you got oil too.
Right.
So you tell me why you would say something like they don't have the infrastructure to do that. Now, me and you, I think we talked about this on the phone, the last show that you and I were on together, where you were telling me that there were certain countries that did have good infrastructure over there. But the problem is, when you ask this question about infrastructure, I think that you be watching them TV shows on TV, like with Sally Fields, with you know what I'm saying, with
Right.
the children, with the exploded stomachs, and you think that's the whole Africa.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, but the thing is, every time I go back, is getting better. Like
Right,
every time I go back, it's to the point now. A lot of the countries that I first went to in like 2000, 2000, or 2011, 2012, their roads are better now than in Atlanta present day.
right, right.
So it's getting better over time. Meanwhile, a lot of places here in America is digressing.
Without a doubt, brother. Without a doubt. And let me speak on something that I think is inherent in Black people's psychology here in America also. I've been talking about this for a while, and I have never really put together a show to talk about it, but there is within, from a lot of Black movements, there is in the psyche of a lot of Black men and women from the second generation, a sheer hatred for Africa. It's
Yes.
a sheer hatred for Africa. And a lot of Black people, well meaning, tried to distance us from those who came over here in a what you call it, in a sort of tactic or strategy to unite us.
Right.
Some were well meaning, a lot were not well meaning. But the point is that once we so-called had this unity that we were supposed to have, which I believe the groundswell of it was the Million Man March, where all
Okay,
Black people
listen,
came
listen
together.
now. Amin Ra, the brother that was criticizing the NOI. Shout out to Amin Ra. That's my brother right there. He
Right.
lives in he lives in Mombasa in Kenya.
Okay.
He brought up the Million Man March too. I just didn't want to keep answering the questions dealing with the NOI, but he pretty much said they got all that money and everybody got together, but nothing really came from it. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, I had 1,000 and 2,000% agree, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know why he's still focusing on my NOI roots, but here's the thing. The thing is, yo, I was there.
All right.
I was there. I was a young lieutenant there. I oversaw some of the money being collected. I can tell you, I saw bushel baskets of the money being collected.
Bushel baskets.
Brother, you remember did you see Coming to America?
Yeah, of
You
course.
remember they was carrying the king and the queen on that gigantic like throne?
Yes.
There was boxes that size of money, bro. That size, like that big, like you had to carry with 4 dudes. You know what I'm saying? And people were just throwing tens and 20s and fives and all that other stuff in it.
Wow.
And to me, we've talked about this many, many times. Hollop, and Kyle have talked about this many, many times. It was the biggest missed opportunity in ever. I was too young to really understand it. And as I got older, I really began to understand that you had all those black men there on some peace stuff. Like if you, brother man, let me tell you something about that day. If you even thought about fighting somebody, the whole million people that stomped you out that day.
Right.
And it was just a huge missed opportunity because nothing was done. And so what was said to so many people was, well, we needed that money to defray the cost of the march. Whatever. I mean, whatever at this point. It's water under the bridge because
What,
it's
what
1995.
costs? I mean, setting up a couple. You already had the security because the NOI.
Right.
Some fencing and microphones and podiums. What do you mean cost?
That's what was said, bro. That's what was said. And I still don't understand that to this day because it's like I said, if you saw all the money being given that day and you to come to me with some cost stuff is like, are you serious?
Right.
But I guess basically the reason why I brought that up was I was saying that the unity that they were preaching from the late 80s to early 90s, the groundswell of the whole thing, the culmination of it was that day. And it was a missed opportunity.
Right.
And not only do I blame him being the leader of that movement,
Uh-huh.
which called for that, but everybody else who was there who was influential, not necessarily like mid-level people or grunts, but I'm talking about like NAACP leaders. There were Hebrew Israelite leaders. People represent all organizations on
Right.
that damn stage, bro, and they didn't do nothing with
You
that.
had, you had Native Americans. You had everybody.
Exactly. Exactly. And so years later, like I want to say like maybe 3 years ago, they had the anniversary. And
Right.
I'm with a local fatherhood group. And it was like, Dawud, you coming? I said, hell no, I'm not coming to that. They said, why? I said, brother, look, I feel like I'm a parent and you guys can't wait for Christmas because Santa Claus is coming down the chimney. I don't want to ruin your Christmas. So you
Right.
go there and you get whatever you think you're gonna get out of there. But I did that already, and it's bullshit. And they was like, okay, they looked at me strange and they went. And today, you mean like nothing changed. So the reality of it is that I guess my original point was is that there had been a lot of people who created this anti-African hate Africa groundswell, you know what I'm saying, over the years. And in all reality, in all reality, I think it still persists today. So when you ask a question, they don't have the infrastructure over there. Have you been there? Have you talked to people that's over there for you to say something like that? You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's what that really comes from. It comes from those years of hearing Africa is bad, the people is bad, there's
Right.
nothing over there, you can't survive, those people hate us, you're going to die if you go over there, you'll get murdered. All of that stuff you heard over the years have gone into black people's psyche and has gone to generations of psyche. So when you start talking about and saying, let's build in Africa, I think it triggers something. It automatically triggers something, and people don't even know why it's triggered, but it triggers something that was said to them. And you know, the white man didn't help us out either because he's in all his books we look like savages in his school education. So
Right.
therefore, that's where I think questions like that come from. Because, like you said, you've been there and you've seen. But the
Yeah.
thing about you, good brother, is you're not going over there to prove we can't do shit over there. You're going over there with an eye of optimism. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, why would I go over there? Why would I waste my money to go over there just to say, "Oh, it ain't gonna work out. It ain't gonna work out," and keep going back 3, 4 times a year? Like, why would I do that?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I could be some nice exotic, Bora Bora, toes in the sand. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Why would I continue to go back just to say, "Hey, there's nothing over here. Don't go," and then go
Right.
back a month later? It just doesn't make sense. No.
Right. I think also, man, I know you got another question, but I think also what a lot of brothers and sisters in America need to do is we need to really read not only just books on, because there's a lot of boring books about Africa out there, but
Right.
you need to read books on the good history. Like there's a book out there, it's called the African Woman in Revolution, I believe it's called. It's a
Mm.
phenomenal book because first of all it talks about the different revolutionary movements and the political side of it, but also it talks about the black woman and her role in it. And
Mm.
what it talks about is, and I every time I read this book I get something new from it. It talks about what she got from it. It talks about how she had to struggle for her peace. And what you find out is that black women in Africa fought very hard side by side in a lot of situations in the later years. I'm talking about 50s, 60s, 70s, and all of those times. And there were certain African leaders that squandered certain things, and then
Of
there were
course.
certain African leaders that promised them, "Yo, if you help us overthrow this government, we're going to give you this," and then didn't give them shit. But you need to read those books so you can get the history of why Africa is the way it is today and get some context instead of watching some damn Sonetta video where somebody is saying you can't build nothing in Africa, you're going to get killed, and have that as your gospel. That's what you're going on.
No, no, brother Dawud, somebody revealed this to me today, and it made after speaking to a lot of brothers who are interested in Africa, it makes all the sense in the world. A lot of people who have this hate against traveling to Africa and how it's not going to work out, and look at Liberia, they don't even have passports or can't get passports.
Right.
So, do you think this is a crab in a barrel situation?
I really do. I most certainly do. It's just like this. And I gave this example to somebody I was talking to the other day. I will admit this. When I was younger, because we all have that crab in the barrel in us in some way, shape, or form, whether we outgrew it or whether we still that crab. But I remember when I was younger, my friends, their father was hell bent on them driving, and he was going to give them a car.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was a single mom, and my dad wasn't in my life at that time. Now he is, but he wasn't. And so, making a long story short, there was no way I was going to drive or have a car no time soon.
Right.
So I did everything in my power to hate on them getting a driver's license and having a car, from telling them that the driver's license don't mean nothing to you. You should drive a motorcycle, the whole 9 yards, because there was no way I was going to drive.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The funny thing about it though is once they got the car, it was lit. We was everywhere. We went
Right.
everywhere. I saw the value of it. That's to me a mirror of what you see with people hating on Africa,
Right.
going to it, building it, whatever. You guys can't even travel from Atlanta to South Carolina.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So when you think of going to Africa, to you, it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Why can't we do it right here? And the reality of it is that if you knew, because we saw the huge, I don't care what anybody says, we saw the huge success of the movie Black Panther.
Right.
And to me, it wasn't even Africa per se. It was black people saying, damn, what would it be like if we had some place to visit when niggas was in charge? You know what I'm saying? That's what I think that they were saying. Now,
Right.
excuse the word, but that's what the
It's
average
all good.
person says.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? That's what the average person says. They would say, damn, what if I visited a place like that where niggas was in charge, where we had everything, and you see how they had it going on? And I think that people could not wait to see a vision of what it would be like if we had something like that. Well, now whether you want to do that here or whether you want to do it elsewhere, you have to agree that you want that. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
if you agree that you want that, the problem is, or the question now becomes, how do we get it? Where do we get it? And that's what I think is the last yard in this whole fight.
Mm. Let's see what else we have in the chat room. Again, everybody, thank you for joining us. We have 186 people watching and 117 likes. Brother Dawud is definitely bringing that fire. So make sure you share and
Thank you, brother.
get the likes up. Here we go. Here goes another one. And we I think we spoke on this yesterday. Me and Brother Holip or Kala. Why should we go to Africa when when Africans are desperately trying to get out of Africa? Yeah, me and Colin spoke on that.
Right. Well, my take on that is this.
On Saturday.
My take on that is this. Just because they are quote unquote desperately trying to get out of Africa does not mean that we have what it takes to help them before they leave. So in other words, it's just like anything. Like I'm 47 years old, brother, and I've been married a couple of times. If you're with a woman and she's no good to you, you running around telling your boys that she's a B and all this other stuff, blah, 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 right? Then another dude gets with that woman, and all of a sudden you see her, she looks fantastic. She's got, she's using her business mind. She's everything that you said she wasn't. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean that he gave that to her? Or does that mean he brought it out of her? You understand what I'm saying? So therefore, here we are in America getting, whether you want to agree with it or not, a good education. And what I mean by that is this: we're living in a land where you have regulations, you have a systems of weight and measurement, you have things that are governed by science. The real world to me is not reflected on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. The
Of course
real
not.
world, so what?
Of course not.
Yeah, the real world is the boots on the ground world where you get to a job site, even if you're an administrator, if you're in an office and you got to deal with the logistics of everyday things and see how things work. And when you do that, then you would have to admit that you're getting a superior first world class education on how to run things, how to build things, and how to do things. There are some of our brothers and sisters in Africa that are not necessarily getting that. And so, therefore, yes, I would want to run over here too if I didn't have that. But the reality of it is, we have that, but we can't really use it to our best ability over here. And so, what if we were able to say, stay where you at? I'm going to show you how to use this. I'm going to show you how to profit off it. I'm going to show you how to maximize it. And we was able to use that and maximize it. Would they really be running over here if we was able to build our own nation the way we saw fit? Not the way they saw fit, but the way we saw fit, with the rules and regulations that we have learned. When I say rules and regulations, I don't mean morality code, religion. I don't mean none of that. I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying, like codes. I'm talking about standards. I'm talking about the principles that we use in everyday work life, and we use that in our nation. To me, that would help, and that would be the vision. Like, if you remember in the Garvey movement, there was always a vision of the man from Africa holding hands and the man from America.
Right.
On the front of the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, not the final call, on the front of the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, you would see two black men holding each other's hand. And that was the vision of the black man from Africa and the black man from America. This has always been the vision. And so, therefore, if you can improve where he's coming from, why would he leave? So let me finish the analogy then.
Go ahead.
Suppose you didn't leave that woman. Suppose y'all went to go see, I don't know, some kind of therapist, and the therapist taught you how to bring that out of that woman. And then, as you, instead of leaving that woman, you was able to bring the best out of her, even though you think that she was this, that, and the next thing. You know damn well you wouldn't leave. Because what would you be leaving to? You got everything you needed right there. And I submit to whoever is answering that question, my good brother or sister, they're running, but they're running from a gold mine. China knows that.
Right.
England knows that.
Right.
Everybody else runs that. So you're making the argument that the black man is running away from Africa, but hell, everybody else is running there.
Correct.
So which one of us is right? Which one of us is wrong? And just because you got some Negro that run from Africa over here and can't wait to marry some white woman, that's not a good example for you to use.
But this is another one, Dawud. This is what they're doing now. I swear, every 2 months, every 3 months, here goes the new Nigerians are the most successful immigrants here in America. They're more successful than Black American article every 3 months.
Right.
We gotta. Can you unpackage that?
Well, it's funny because have you ever like heard of this book? It's called Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mom.
I have not. No.
Okay, in Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mom, there's this Chinese woman. Her name is Amy Chuma, and she talks about basically why her culture, Nigerian culture, and Jewish culture are the dominant cultures in America as far as finance and as far as discipline, because we got better culture than y'all. So in other words, we don't allow our children to mix with y'all's because y'all children are undisciplined. They don't have no work ethic and they get involved in American stuff and blah, 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 blah. And so, yes, in a lot of cases, there are some Nigerians that are successful in America. But shoot, you and I both know Nigerians that are just as poor as me and you. You know what I'm saying? And the reality of it is that, bro, man, I'm second generation. Like, I'm a locksmith and electronic security installer. I'm not first generation. I'm second generation. I was cutting keys in my diapers. You know what I'm saying? I'm not Nigerian. And so the reality of it is that I think that kind of propaganda is given to you so you as a black person from America can give up on your culture and look to them. Right. But in reality, I think, if you come from let's just put it this way, if you come from a hustling environment, you're going to make it anywhere you go.
Facts.
It's really just that simple. You know what I'm saying? Like with my skill, if you drop me off in Russia, they still got fire alarms in Russia. They still got card access in Russia where you present your card and the door unlocks. They may not use They may not use 120. In Russia, I think they use 250. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? 250 volts, but that ain't nothing new to me. I know how to step it down, so I would survive. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, yes, there are great things about Nigerian culture. Listen, there's great things about Nation of Islam culture. To be honest with you, raising your children up in it. But at the same time, is that a guarantee? Is that a guarantee of success? Because there's been some Muslim children that have gone on to be engineers, and shit, there's been Muslim children that have gone on to be crackheads.
Right.
You know what
Killer
I'm saying?
Samos.
Exactly. And so therefore, no culture is really a predictor of guaranteed success and guaranteed prosperity. To me, it is who you are and what you make of it. And that's why I say we need a better environment. And the environment that we're in, I think, gives us more control over. Because I heard this years ago, and I don't know if you agree, but I agree with it. I heard this actually on No Ledge Radio. A brother said, "How come you don't be seeing Indians or Hindus out there begging for change?" And I agree with that. I don't be seeing no Hindus out there begging for change.
No.
I really don't be seeing no Asian or Chinese or Japanese people out there begging for change. And the reason being,
Well, you're talking about in Africa, right?
no, I'm talking about in America.
Oh, no, yeah, I don't. Yeah, you're right.
You don't. You know what I'm saying? So all you really see, you'll see white people doing that, you'll see black people doing that, and to some degree, you'll see some Hispanics doing that. Very little. You know what I'm saying? But you will not see, and it's because those cultures, it's not because those cultures are superior to ours, it's because they take care of one another. And the root of them taking care of one another is what? They have a nation they can pledge allegiance to. Chinatown has a China. Israel, Jews have an Israel. And my daddy said this to me years ago, man, when I was a young buck just entering the Nation of Islam. He said to me, he said, "That's fine what you're doing, son." He said, "But the ultimate end of this whole thing is we need an Israel for niggas."
Right.
I was 20 years old. He said that to me. And I was like, "Well, that's what we're trying to build right here." He said, "Okay." That was it. He just let it go. And then years later, like maybe 10 years later, when I started kind of maturing and I became a minister and whatever, he said, did you think about what I said?" I said, "What is that?" "Did you think about having an Israel for niggas?" There you go with that Israel for nigga thing again. You know what I'm saying? So then he
Right.
let it go. So then 10 more years later, I started telling him about my stuff in the BAIO and stuff like that. He started laughing at me. He said, "So basically what y'all saying is y'all need an Israel for niggas, right?" I was like, "Yeah, dad."
But what's crazy, speaking of Israel, you have Africans and black people in general who will tell you that Africa is cursed, Black America is cursed, and that Israel is the promised land.
Right. Right.
They're Israel. The white Jew, right, Israeli, whatever, is that's where we need to go.
Which is the size of an island, right? You
Right,
know,
exactly.
it's funny because that I think that goes back into the propaganda, not only really not only being broadcasted by white people, but by black people too. Because if you remember, like I remember years ago, I'm a science fiction buff. I like the comic book movies, the science fiction movies, or whatever. So I went to the movies one day and I wanted to see this movie World War Z.
I saw
And
that. I saw that in fact, it's funny because every time I go to Africa, I always catch up on my movies on the flight because depending on where I'm going, it's either a 10 to 12-hour flight. So I just watched a couple movies, and World War Z was the zombie movie. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so it's funny how the only place that was safe was Israel. Remember?
Of course.
And you look at that, and I'm sitting in that movie theater because first of all, I didn't even know it was a zombie movie. I thought it was some science fiction, like some aliens came here, whatever. And then I'm seeing the zombie stuff. I was like, okay, well, I'm here for the ride. And I'm watching. I said, damn, this is deep. And then they get to Israel, and it's like, oh, come on, yo. So you're trying to say that the final frontier, the most holy place is going to be Israel. That is what we have been spoon fed all these years, brother.
Right.
And to me, it's even subliminal. And that's why, like my good brother Kala and some other brothers, they cannot stand metaphysics. They cannot stand anything, like that. And I always tell them, brother, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because some of the metaphysical breakdowns of this movie, to me, make a lot of sense. And what has been said is most of these movies that we see, the underlining tone of it has sort of a Judeo-Christian biblical narrative in it, and it's feeding Israel down your throat.
Right.
And so basically what I say that is because that's where I think that you get a lot of your black people who are saying that is they've been inundated by this propaganda for so many years, they don't know no better. And this is why when you say, because think about it this way, brother Dines, when
Right.
people say to us, you got to control your own media. What media are you talking about? BET, TV1. What media are you talking about? Because you're
I think
never gonna.
the images. We don't control the images that are put out about us.
No doubt. Not only do we not control the images, we don't control the infrastructure or the radio station in general. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And we kind of grit our teeth when people like for instance the Breakfast Club, if
Mm.
they would have a Umar Johnson on there, we on the edge of our seat saying, damn, all three of them cats is gonna get fired. You know what I'm saying? Or
Mm.
like years ago when Arsenio Hall had Louis Farrakhan on his show, what happened after that? He got
He's
fired.
pretty much done. Yeah.
Exactly. So what that shows you is when you go to put out that irresponsible message, we got to control our media. What media are you talking about? We don't have an hour media. And this goes back to the whole story of building a nation of your own so you can build a media of your own. And until you do that, you will never have an our media. You will just have a media that you're renting from somebody that they could take back from you at any given time.
Right. Absolutely. Shout out to In the Red for the super chat. Shout out to Brian Cole for the super chat. Let me read their comments. Let's see here. In the Red says, if you guys want to focus on starting here first, then learn the skills, science, technology, engineering, mechanics, medicine, business, etc., then take those skills to Africa.
Yes.
I agree. And then Brian Cole says, you're a complete idiot if you blindly believe that things people say who have never been to Africa. If you're serious about Africa, buy a ticket and go. Do your research, fam, and stop making damn excuses. Africa is better than you think.
Yep.
Yeah.
First of all, the big shouts to the sister Anna Rett because
Mhm.
I've heard very good things from Holla and Kala, and I don't know her for offhand, but they endorse her, so she got the gold standard.
Yeah. I think she was on when we were on Holup's show. I think she was on there. I think she was in the chat room.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, she's a supporter, man. Shout out to Interred. Interred, thank you so much for supporting us.
no doubt, no doubt.
And then brother Amir says, so Amir, let me give you the backstory of Amir, my brother Amir. So he left Africa. I mean, he left America back like 26 years ago, Amir. About 26 years ago, left for good. He's now in Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
So he's to the point where what's taking you Negroes so long to leave America? I mean, what is it going to take? Because nothing's going to change. As you said earlier in the show, they keep changing the rules to benefit
Right,
them. So
right.
what I mean, so what is it going to take? That's his thing. So how do you feel about that?
Well, this is where the anti-religion meets reality. I really think it's going to take a disaster of ethical proportions to cause black people to do that.
Okay.
Not
Do you think? And I know Tariq Nasheed once said that Donald Trump right now he's going after the legal immigrants. He's going after these people. But he said when it's all said and done, for the grand finale, it's going to be something against black people.
I would tend to agree that, but it, I don't know, brother. To me, what I think is that every president has a duty to do. He does his duty, and then he leaves office.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Donald Trump is the one to usher in the end all be all. I really don't. I think that he's destabilizing a lot of stuff. I really do. I was talking to somebody about that. A mentor of mine was teaching me this, but I don't think that he's the one to drop the whole bomb that would cause black people to say, "Oh, this is fucked up. I'm out of here."
Right.
I really don't. I think you got a couple of more years for that to happen. But he is starting it. He's setting it into motion. And when I say setting it into motion, I don't mean like stuff that we've been seeing for years. I'm talking about major stuff he's setting into motion. And then there will probably be a liberal to kind of make us go back to sleep for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And then there'll be another Donald Trump like Republican to come through, and it'll be stages because they understand that they are harvesting us for our money and our energy. So to just have Donald Trump usher in some kind of endgame scenario, I don't think I don't agree with that necessarily, because it's like if you think about it, people try to paint black people as lazy, and they try to say that all of us is on welfare, we don't work. But the reality of it is, many brothers and sisters who have 3 to 4 jobs and just want to work for the white man for the rest of their life, drink a beer, and retire. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They benefit off of that. because you pay taxes. And not only do you pay taxes, you occupy these smaller jobs. To me, the extinction level agenda is coming from automation, robots, you know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Automated kiosks, things like that. And when that happens and there's nothing left for us to do, Honorable Elijah Muhammad has a saying. He says, one day the white man will get tired of you and he'll sit down on you.
Right.
And so therefore, and this is said in multiple books of his. And so therefore, that day I think is going to come when there's really no low level job for us to do anymore. And to me, I agree with Brother Amin Ra. But what I think is that the only way that black people is going to see that they need to make that move is, number one, we have to have something over there already.
Right.
And number two, there has to be something so egregiously done over here that everybody says, the hell with it. Why don't we just go over there? But those two things have to happen first.
Mm. Mm. Amara says America's greatest fear is Black Americans making the exodus out of here.
I believe that too. I believe that too. Because it's like, you know, if you look at the hijacking of everything that we hold dear, music,
Mm-hmm.
hip hop, you
Mm-hmm.
know, art, all that other stuff, they need us in order to be who they are.
Right.
And if we was to make a mass exodus, what would this country be like? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, I'm just gonna keep it 100 with you. When you work on a job with several white boys, you and I both know you have to hold you everything you could do to hold yourself back from screaming on them, because the more you work, the less they work. It's just that simple. The
Mm-hmm.
more you work, the less they work. And so therefore, once they see you get on that job and you're just happy to be there, and all you want to do is just prove that you belong there, and you start doing extra, you start doing 3 to 4 times the work you do, the less that they do. And so therefore, that's a nationwide dynamic. And for us to leave here and go someplace else, who's going to do the work? So
Right.
I agree with that on many different levels, but that's one of the basic levels that I see it at. Every job I've ever held, it's been that phenomenon. It doesn't matter who it is. You could have blonde hair, brown hair, black hair, blue hair. Every job I've been on, it's been a situation where the more I worked, the less they worked.
Hmm. So what's the end game? Is it build our own nation? Because I see a lot of people tap dancing around that, and no, that's not it, and we need civil rights, and we're gonna rise up, like what's the end game?
Well, I'm gonna say this and then I gotta bounce.
Okay.
End game for me.
Right.
End game is land infrastructure nationhood.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that, I know that people say, well, we heard that from Hollop and Collar. Let me explain. The beginning of everything that you try to correct in America has to start on something that you own and fully control and have national pride for. Perioso. If you do not have your own land, run every main minor and major what you call function on it,
Mm-hmm.
and have national pride, everything that you're trying to do is going to fail. All of these movements that try to address homosexuality, you're not going to do that here. All of these movements that try to address interracial dating, you're not going to do that here. All these movements that try to address pedophilia, you are not going to
That,
do
that's
that
that's
here.
that's coming next.
Sure. Yep. Oh, you mean a question or what?
No, I'm saying it's coming next. Like it's coming.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, they're passing laws making it legitimate now. You know what I'm saying? And you would have some sisters who say, "Well, pedophilia has been in the black community for years because you got uncles that touch children."
Yeah. Sick
My
uncle.
my position is you can't murder those uncles in America.
You can in
You
Africa
can't do
though.
it.
You can in Africa.
There you go.
You get a tire, some gasoline, and a match.
There you go.
That's it.
There you go. You see what I'm saying? So if you committed some kind of molestation, and brother, being a minister, I counsel many, many, many brothers and sisters, and you'll find, brother, man, it's almost to the point where it's like 6 out of 10 sisters have been molested when they was younger.
Brother, I know I sound ignorant right now. You know what? I've had a very good protected life. I've never been molested, sexually abused. I just can't fathom why somebody would do that. Like, is it really that? Is it really going on like that in the black
Yes,
community?
yes,
Definitely.
yes, it is. Unfortunately, um, am I saying every black uncle or father is a pedophile? No, but what I am saying is that it's bigger than we think, and where it comes from, to me, is living in a strange land amongst a strange people.
Hmm.
It's really just that simple. Number one, and number two, really not having the power to punish those who do it like we really want to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Mhm.
some people say, well, punishment doesn't deter crimes.
Shit.
Well, exactly. Exactly. If you know that you can argue, at least if you know that you can argue for your case before a court of law, that you didn't touch somebody when everybody knows you did,
Right.
you're going to try it. But if you know that there's even an inkling of you touching a child, they're going to chop your arms off and feed you your tongue, you will think 10 times before you did that. It's a
Exactly.
big difference. So, to me, I just think that one of the biggest problems is we don't have control of our community that we could execute these people. And you see people on Facebook all the time say things like, well, if that was my daughter, I would have to do this. Let me tell you something. Once that person's in the white man's custody, what is you going to do? You're going to do nothing.
The worst you could do is probably at court, like you'll see them lashing out or jumping at the criminal, and then the bailiffs and the cops coming and get them. I mean, that's about it.
Exactly. And do you have children, big brother?
I have a son. Yes.
Okay, I got 5 children.
God.
Four of them are girls.
Wow.
Four. So I remember when that whole what you call it, that whole Olympic committee thing. Remember that doctor?
Oh yeah, the doctor. Yeah, the Michigan State and the gymnastics. Yeah.
Yes. And I remember seeing that video where it's a father of some of those children. And he's asking the judge as calm and collective as he can. Listen,
Give me like 10 minutes or something like that.
exactly. And she says no, and he just rushes the dude.
Uh-huh.
And yo, he's a white dude, and I don't give a damn about y'all. But the reality of it is for a second I had to jump out of my national pride and think as a father
Mhm.
and say, damn, how would I feel if I was in that courtroom and somebody did that to my daughter and I could do nothing? The minute I raised my hand, they would stop me. Justice is not sending that guy to jail. Justice is leaving that guy in the room with their father.
Right.
Period.
Mhm.
Period. And so, therefore, even in our own nation, if you were to say, well, we're going to take care of him, brother, you ain't got nothing, that's not justice to me. Justice is you allowing that man to do what he needs to do to him. But the greater thing is we got to create a system where we need control over a system where that's not even something that somebody thinks, first or second or third time to try.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like you, I've never been molested. My little sister's never been molested. My older brother's never been molested. And thank God, none of my 4 children up to this day have been molested also. However, I am surrounded by brothers and sisters who have been molested, male and female.
Wow. Goodness. Shout out to Ashley Wells in the chat room. Shout out to Ashley Wells. Well, brother, go ahead and I know you see you got to run. Anything else you would like to share in closing before we check out? Also, share with everybody your contact information and all that good stuff, if that's okay with
Well,
you.
what's called? I'm Dawud Muhammad on Facebook. You'll see a red and white star and crescent. I don't really talk too much nationhood on Facebook because I don't deem it necessary.
Okay.
Facebook is just a place where people argue and talk about nonsense all day. So I'll come on there and fellowship with people, but you're not going to hear me say we need to, you're not going to hear me say that really much on Facebook. So it's not really worth you adding me. But on YouTube, you know what I'm saying? Like you go to Dawud Muhammad. If you see that icon that you see there, which is like the power, that's a power sign.
Right.
That's me. I have a couple of videos there. I'm going to put some more there eventually. But if you really want to know, if you really want to hear some of my stuff, my greatest stuff that I've been blessed to say, go and add on My Name Is My Name. That good
Oh,
brother.
that's you. That's you. Okay,
Yes, that's me.
okay. Let me ask you that. Is that your page? My name is my name.
No, that's not me. That's not me. That's a person that has great love for me.
Okay, because listen, that's how I found. That's how I found out about Kala through that.
Right, right. Right. He has a lot of my
Yeah.
stuff on that page. And he has basically immortalized me. So if you really want to hear
Uh-huh.
Minister Dawood and his rawness talking about Africa, nationhood, BAIO, go to My Name Is My Name because he clips so many of my videos. Every day I wake up, I see My Name Is My Name posters. 13 Revolution Radio, this, that, and the next thing. And I feel like he does it again. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So go there. Our what's called website. We've given it many times, BAIOAfricstan.ning, Afghanistan5.ning, I believe. And you can join that particular social media site. I'm very busy. I don't be on there as much as I should. They get on my case sometimes. But for years I was the basic mouthpiece of the BAIO, and I kind of, focusing on my personal life to some degree. But I'm going to get back out there to some degree. I won't say that I'll get out there like I was back in the day, but I will. But like I said, if you want to hear from me, my name is my name. I'll be in and out of a whole of the show. Hopefully, I'll be back here to talk about something else in the future. Because my passion, I'd like to say this before I go. My passion,
Take your time, please. Take your time.
my nationhood passion deals with the skills. We all, you see, the thing is about nationalists is we're not all monolithic. We're not all the same. And so Hollip said, and one day we're going to do this show. He said, nationhood is really not monogamy. So in other words, it's not. It's really like polygamy. All of us have various different. Um, we have various different interests when it comes to nationhood. My interest is helping Black men and women see the best in themselves and getting high skills. That's my goal. That's my interest. And I don't think that you can do that to a great, I know you can do it to some degree, but not a great deal here in America. So in other words, I want our nation, because I want to be able to set up centers where we can learn from each other. There's no office politics. There's no, good guy network and stuff like that. If you want to be an engineer, you can learn it. I'm not going to charge you $600,000 and you will never be able to use it. You know what I'm saying? If you want to be a doctor, you got grown up holistic medicine that you can use and surgery that you can use that is not geared towards lining some pharmacist's pocket. These kind of things is what I want to see, because one thing I know about Black people, Brother Dynas, is that it doesn't matter if you are the pookiest of pookies or the rayest of ray rays. There is greatness in every Black person out there. I don't give a damn what anybody says.
Facts.
And that's why I'm not down with the whole Pookie and Ray Ray designation / slander. I have met brothers who didn't know how to read and got inspired by somebody and became very, very intelligent, very well spoken, very articulate people. And so I think that given a chance in the right environment, we could have a nation of Black people who can really reach their highest potential. I just don't think that you can really do it here in America. I just don't think you could do it like that. I think some of us have, and if you did, you beat a lot of odds to get there. But I want to give you the chance that you have 9 times out of 10 chances to become great. And if you are full of shit in Africa, that's your fault. You know what I'm saying? I don't want you to be able to say, well, America didn't do this for me, or I got knocked back down. Like, how many of us have tried to climb to the top of our fields and somehow, some way, we've been knocked down by somebody who was just afraid of us?
And I just found the in fact he has a my name is my name. He has a BAIO logo on his
Yes, he does.
thumbnail. Thumbnail.
He's BIO 100%. Like there's times where Hollywood will do a video, he'll be in the chat room dealing with dudes. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? That is our dude right there. Like
Okay.
you are. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. So if you go on there, you're gonna see a lot of my stuff there. A lot.
Absolutely. All right, brother. Well, man, hey, I enjoyed this hour and some change. I really did, man. I appreciate it.
I do too, brother. And again, brother, man, the BAIO loves you. We're so glad you're doing what you're doing,
Appreciate
and we're behind you 1000%. Peace and love.
Oh man, thank you. Anytime you want to come on, brother, just let me know.
Okay, brother. Peace.
Platform is open. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you go to search for Uhuru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, Africa Personified on those same platforms. Make sure you go to search for Uhuru.com, Africa Personified.Africa, Amazon.com, search your name, Dynas Mir. Please buy a book and go to Africa Personified.Africa. Already said that. Sorry about that. Again, everybody, thank you so much. I will be back on tomorrow. So please, just again, thank you for the support. Make sure you hit that share button, that like button. Make sure you hit that subscription bell to get the notifications. Once again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. That was an excellent show. You know what? I'm so humbled to have great guests. You know, the guests that I have that come on the show, man. I think, you know, there's a reason why this platform is growing because, you know, we have some great people on here, man. You know, as they say, never be the smartest person in the room, So I always strive to get people on here who are way much more intelligent and smarter than me. So again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Till next time, peace.